Do you wake up every morning with either zero or too many thoughts in your head? Do you struggle with basic routines like getting ready for work in the morning, getting ready for bed at night, and any transitions at all? This is my pocket bullet journal, a minimal, functional, and still very haphazard caretaker of my life. It reminds me about the recurring things I need to do each week, each month, and each quarter. It helps me organize my daily tasks. I am not perfect. I'm not trying to hit perfect targets, and there are definitely days and weeks where I go back to living spontaneously and not maintaining my planners. But that's okay, because I designed this system to be cyclical and modular, so I can always jump back in and pick things up again even after I've dropped them. These are my weekly routine checklists. I wouldn't call them habit trackers. Habit tracker implies that I'm trying to hit a certain target, and that dissatisfaction may creep in if and when I don't hit those targets. A routine checklist, however, is just a gentle nudge. It's a list that I curated for myself because I like myself and I want to be happy, healthy, nourished, enriched, and also showing up for my responsibilities. So I have 6 of these routine checklists. One for waking up, morning routines, one for mid-morning routines, one weekly house chore tracker, one that I call my creative commute, one combination pre-work and post-work routine for my day job, and a bedtime routine. Some routines are by necessity simple. My original morning routine was just a 4-step process for a really long time. Getting out of bed, washing my face, drinking water, and doing a short exercise. This needed to be something I could do even when I was absolutely head empty. First thing in the morning, waking up, no thoughts in my head. I would say that it needed to be so simple that I could remember it, except I wouldn't say that because I couldn't, because the reason I need to write this list down every week is because I can't remember it, because that's how my brain works. For a while, I was choosing from a menu of options in the morning for my morning routine. If you're someone who might wake up with different levels of energy in the morning, or if you just like to have choices to make your life feel more abundant, I really recommend having an exercise menu instead of assigning yourself a specific thing to do. Having a menu also guarantees that not every single morning routine will feel the same, which is weirdly important to me and my ADHD brain. So it removes that feeling of being somewhat trapped in a habit, because even in consistency, I really need to feel some variety. Now, just recently, in the last couple of months, I have really elevated my morning routine by trying to add a lot more enriching activities to it, trying to do a writing sprint in the morning, doing some language study with a Pimsleur audio lesson while I prep brunch. You might notice I use the word brunch in my bullet journal instead of breakfast, and that's because brunch makes me think of lazy weekends and friends and mimosas and indulgence. And breaking fast makes me think of dark rooms and long tables full of monks eating bread, and also austerity. So, in my planners, I choose to use the word that makes me feel nicer. And for practical reasons, brunch is shorter to write. Like many people with ADHD, I do struggle with appetite in the morning, which is why I think it's actually really good for me to force a little bit more mental stimulation, because it creates a little bit of time, a little bit of buffer, and weirdly, I think using my brain actually makes me hungrier in the morning. Is that weird to say? It took me a long time to kind of figure that out, but like when I feel really brain dead and then I continue feeling brain dead, my appetite never kicks in. But if I do a writing sprint, somehow half hour later, hungry, ready to eat. So, take from that what you will. But my goal is to keep myself busy thinking in the morning and reading and writing instead of doom scrolling. So, to that end, when I eat, when I actually sit down for brunch, I also have a goal to pair it with something that is enriching or educational or interesting, and not something that's going to set my day up poorly. The next stage is a transition space to cue me to move into the next part of the day. Put on a music playlist and set up for whether or not I'm going to enter my mid-morning routine, whether I'm going to do some YouTube filming like I am now, whether I'm going to move into house chores, etc. So if I move to my mid-morning routine, this is a lot of upkeep and just a little bit more. It's kind of an extension of my morning routine, but splitting it into two makes me feel less overwhelmed. That's really what it comes down to. Making smaller lists helps reduce overwhelm. So this list here is the planners that I'm trying to keep updated, from my line of day journals to my yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily spreads in my Sterling Ink Common Planner, my food journal, my language study journal, this guy, which I'll be talking about pretty soon, and this guy, my daily bullet journal, which is this. After I update planners, I might do some body weight exercises. I've been trying to get more into this habit as well. I may also choose to do a session of meditation. And then I have my next transition pivot point, either from my mid-morning routine, I'm going to move into my creative commute, or I'm going to move to my pre-work routine. It depends which day, if it's a day that I'm going into my day job, or a day that I'm staying home and working at my desk. So for my house chores checklist, all of these are chores that I'd like to do once a week, but it really doesn't matter which day it happens. I like having the flexibility to tackle house chores when I feel like it, and having this tracker also helps me take an honest look at what is and isn't getting done from week to week, and to identify if there's any specific days I gravitate to, right? Like laundry tends to now be a Wednesday thing, just for practical reasons for me. I just like doing laundry on Wednesdays. Now, my creative commute checklist gives me a step-by-step process to set up my workspace and start working on a creative project, whether it's writing, video editing, or something from my project management system. I don't have scheduled times for my creative work, but I do for my part-time job. So to make it easier to get out the door and get to work on time, I also made this pre-work routine. And then I needed a guide to help me relax and lower stimulation and wind down after I got home, so I combined it with this post-work routine. The post-work routine then inevitably leads to the bedtime routine, where I check in with my partner about plans for the next day, such as dinner or work schedules, or any necessary strategizing we have to do. We might stretch or do yoga, clean up in the kitchen and put the house to bed, put my hair in a protective hairstyle for sleep, brush teeth, floss, any necessary self-care routines like lotioning, and then getting in bed and tracking my sleep. Bedtime is still very much a constant negotiation for me. I feel that I've improved a lot, but I still can't claim consistency because I might have a good couple of months of sleep hygiene and then get thrown off again for weeks. Having a checklist to look at least helps me through those nights where I'm tired but resistant. I'm trying to focus on the comfort instead of the feeling of obligation. I'll definitely talk more about morning and bedtime routines in future videos because I have learned a lot about developing routines as an adult with ADHD, but I know what it's like to really struggle with it. I also do want to point out that I know that this is the tip of the iceberg. There's no hint of it here, but some of the items on these checklists actually have their own very extensive subroutines. Like, it wouldn't make sense to keep an entire shower checklist in my bullet journal itself, but I do keep one in my bathroom drawer, just so I'm confident that I'm not forgetting anything important. So if you're looking at this thinking, yeah, these are nice little tasks, but if I was really to hone in on my routine, it would be full of so many small little details that are just not well defined here. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, that's I think there's an important distinction between like tunneling down into the nitty-gritty and like figuring out task by task what actually needs to happen in order to like execute a routine effectively. And then there's like the shorthand that you use just to preserve your sanity, where shower here means that I'm gonna then go reference this instead of trying to look at all these little items in this list or in a list like this. I find that a lot of ADHD management when it comes to this kind of stuff is really about how well you can control the amount of information you take in at once, because when you're confronted with a lot of data, it's just very easy to get overwhelmed. And you might logically recognize that when you zoom into these small little tasks here on the macro scale, like it looks like this. And it's sort of important to be able to keep a distinction so that you're not constantly filling your brain with all of this, that you're sort of keeping it in a holding area off to the side, so you're choosing not to constantly overwhelm and re-overwhelm yourself with these visuals all the time. I hope that makes sense. It is a very strange mental disconnect to look at all of this and say, wow, this is a lot, but also it's not enough. And if you suffer from executive dysfunction, I think you understand that feeling. I think you do know what I mean here. So I hope this was helpful for you, and if you'd like to be notified about upcoming routine-related videos, I invite you to subscribe. I hope your routines go well, good luck, and have a good one, everybody.